Hey, what's up, class? All right, so we need to get moving on our story ideas. Here are the restrictions. One location. That's it. On campus. Could be indoors, outdoors. I highly suggest indoors so that you have control of the environment. And no more than 3 characters because it gets to difficult to wrangle. So that's the parameters. One location on low campus, 3 characters, and it cannot be like set in the middle of the night. It's got to be during daylight hours. Okay, so that puts some limitations on it. You always embrace the limitations as creative ones, meaning like a poet who has to write a haiku, has to write it within 575 structure. The same way with film, it has to fit a certain structure. You just can't ramble on and on and on and on. All right, so what makes a good film? I have those 6 questions down there. Answer those 6 questions. That's a good start. You have to have a clear and concise understanding of the intricate relationship that those 6 questions have in regards to narrative. Narrative is all about conflict, you guys. If the conflict isn't there, people will not care. That your character could be having the best day ever, just won the lottery. His high school crush just called him up and said, hey, let's go out on a date. I mean, you name it. If there's no conflict, then we will not care. So you have to always keep that in mind. What is the story? What's the conflict? What are you getting at? Okay, so those 6 questions sort of sets up this dynamic to answer, is this idea really a good film idea? Okay, with us, we're going that extra mile in that it has to be shot on campus during daytime. So and have fun with it. I had one class, they were doing like zombie videos. It was funny. Another one did like this mafiosa style gangster criminal ring going on in school. And these were all fun shorts that they had fun with, they completed. So don't think that this assignment has to be some huge Denzel Washington, Will Smith production. You know, it doesn't have to be. Okay? Calm down. It's just a community college film assignment, right? No one's going to win an Oscar off of this. No one's going to get a job off of this. Excuse me. So, with that said, we all have to come to some sort of agreement as to which story will be the best one. So everyone's going to post their answers to the 6 questions. We're going to discuss them. Then we're going to come to a vote as to which one. And of course, some of them may not fit the criteria. There's always someone who writes in a scene at LAX, and there's no way possible that you're going to shoot at LAX, all right? Or they'll put a scene in at a restaurant, you know. So, yeah, those will be eliminated, and then we'll pick one. And if not, I will pick one from the handful of scripts that I have, and we'll shoot that. So no problem. It's still a fun process. Everyone has to participate. Okay, so the conflict has to be there. What do I mean by that? There has to be something that the main character, your protagonist, your first person who's going through agony, right? First, agony, antagonist, right? What do they want? They have to want something. So what we do is we set up the world where everything is sort of normal-ish. And then we have what's called the inciting incident, the first one, which is an event that happens to the character and it turns their world upside down, right? So now they have to spend the next act trying to undo the turmoil, the chaos caused by the first event, the inciting incident. Okay? And then that's the whole second act. At the end of the second act is another inciting incident. Another event happens and it flips their world over again. And now they have to fix this event, so to speak, the ramifications of this event. Okay? So what do I mean by events? An event is only a story event when it changes the value charge of the protagonist. Meaning we all have things that we value, human values like life, liberty. We value having a roof over our head. We value an education. We value our reputation, right? These are very natural human values. So an event happens to the protagonist when one or more of those values are at risk. They're being attacked, okay? So, for example, in the high school setting, an event could be someone created some weird AI photo and now they're circulating it and it makes the quarterback of the team look very sketchy. You know, that's an event that's changed the status of the quarterback, right? His reputation, something he values, is now at risk. Why? How? Because someone or something, right? An AI, just kidding, released this doctored up photo of him. Okay? So now that's at risk, his reputation. Here's another one. You go to sleep, you go to bed, before you fall asleep, you look outside, the ground is dry. Okay? When you wake up the next morning, you look outside, the ground is wet. You conclude that it's rained. Is that an event? Well, yeah, it's an event, but is it a story event? No, it's not. It has not changed the value dynamic of anyone. It just rained. It rains every day somewhere in the world. Get over it, right? That's not a story event. A story event, like I said, has to change the value charge of the protagonist. Here's an example. You're in a village in Australia, the outback, right? And you've been experiencing a drought, and you know the crops aren't growing, even the livestock are dying. The livelihood of your clan is depending upon this rain, and you're the shaman, the witch doctor. You've been doing the rain dance, and it's not raining. So people are starting to look at you like you're a fraud. Like, yo, what's up with the village witch doctor? He's been doing this rain dance and it's not raining. What's up with that? They're starting to look at you kind of sketchy. And the last guy who was the village witch doctor who didn't do the good rain dance, he ended up, I don't know, he got tossed over a cliff. They got mad at him, wanted better results. And that was their democratic process. So now they're looking at you thinking like, is there another cliff that we can throw this one off of? So you go to bed worried, oh man, I hope it rains. You look outside and it's dry. When you wake up the next morning, it's wet and rained. Yes. that event has changed the value of the witch doctor from a negative, he's a fraud, to a positive. Oh, look, he made it rain. Okay, that's an event, a story event. So your screenplay pivots constantly across that idea of going from a positive to a negative, negative to positive, back and forth. It's called the story dynamic. It cannot go from positive to positive to positive to negative, negative to no. It has to have a dynamic that goes from positive to negative to positive to negative. In fact, that dynamic is at the heart of the screenplay's structure, right? The smallest unit is a beat. And a beat in screenplay's term is when the dynamic goes from positive to negative or negative to positive. Okay, that's considered the beat. You know, here's an example. Two characters, they're in love, they're engaged, right? Maybe they're at a pre-honeymoon, you know, a little trip they take to Jamaica. And, you know, the night before, they were a little drunk. And they're in the hotel, and he wakes up. They're both waking up, and he's like, wow, honey, you sure are beautiful. And she kind of looks at him like, you didn't say that last night. You told me I was 10 pounds overweight. It's funny, amazing. It's amazing what truth 3 shots of tequila will get out of you. So he's gone from a positive, gee, honey, you look sweet, to a negative. You got drunk and called me fat last night, right? So that's a small change in the story dynamic. But nonetheless, it is a change in the dynamic, a minute one. And it's important because even those changes, right, as they go back and forth, have to have a structure to them. They have to, the stakes have to get higher and higher and higher, and ultimately to the point of no return. Boom. Okay. So then it comes down again, and then we build it up again and build it up and build it up. And ultimately in the final act, right, near the end, we have what's considered the obligatory scene. And that is the scene that the entire film beckons, you know, where the protagonist meets the antagonist, you know, where Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker battle it out, where the detective finally discovers who did it. You know, we got to have that scene. So we build up to that. Nothing before, nothing previous can trump that scene. So this is where the craft of writing becomes a craft. A lot of people think that I speak English, so I can write a movie, no problem, which is not the case, because like I mentioned before, film is a pre-linguistic language, meaning you have to think or speak in images first. Dialogue is secondary. Dialogue is nonsense, right? The image, what are you showing them, matters most than what you're telling them, right? That's far more powerful, far more powerful. Show them, don't tell them. So if you can make that switch to thinking about what I'm showing them to come to a conclusion, and capture that in terms of a story dynamic where the charge goes from positive to negative to positive to negative. Okay. Then we can structure something. We might have something interesting. And, you know, even then still it takes a lot of out of the box thinking. So I know we don't have a lot of time here, but you know, when you approach a script like a regular screenplay, you sit down and you're sort of brainstorming. You're getting these ideas. Well, the first idea that pops into your head is not the one that you go with. That first idea, like say if you're thinking of a setting, a situation where, for example, this came up in my class. The assignment was, we need a scene where boy meets girl, right? So it's got to be fresh, it's got to be original, because cliche is the enemy. Okay, remember that, you guys. Cliche is the enemy. So how do you fight cliche? You have to realize that the first idea that you pop out of your head is a culmination of all the movies and bad TV that you've been watching all your life. Okay? So to come up with something, and that's a cliche, right? You're just regurgitating something else different. To come up with something new and fresh, you got to dig deeper. And so there's this concept of 40 to 1 or 20 to 1, 40 to 1, where you get your first idea, right? Okay, you put that down. Now you got to come up with 39 more, right? Where would you put this scene? Boy meets girl in a club. Well, of course, that's been done. How about at a birthday party? That's been done. That's 2 so far. How about at a gym? You know, they're working out, showing off that's been done. And you just keep going until you get 40. And once you have 40, you look back and you choose the best one. Sometimes this helps to be in what's called the writer's room. Mostly that's for television, where you have a room full of writers working on it. Or you have someone to bounce it off of. So for example, and this is where I hate to say, well, I don't hate to say this, but if you are the class clown, if you are the guy or the young lady who's known for cracking out jokes out loud, unfiltered, this is the job for you. I swear, it's always the class clowns who come up with the best ideas, because they are so uninhibited. For example, we were going through this exercise, boy meets girl, where are we going to put it? And we're rattling on. We're probably like maybe about a dozen ideas in. And the guy who's the class clown just casually blurts out, I'd make them meet behind the apartment building at the trash dumpster. And everyone kind of chuckled. It wasn't a big laugh. It was a... And I thought, wait a minute. That's unique. Has anyone seen that before? You know, and then just building from that, I can imagine she's like forced to go down there. She's getting ready for like a club later on, so she's got the curlers in her hair and, you know, the stuff between her toes. She's not even looking her best, and she runs into this dude. And, you know, then she like lifts the thing up, and when she throws her garbage in and lets it drop, the trash juice just splats on her face. And despite that, he's still attracted to her. And everyone thought, like, yeah, that's pretty original, you know? So now's the moment to get in touch with your inner class clown and let those ideas blur. You cannot have a bad idea. Let me put it that way. You can say, boy meets girl on the moon. I'm gonna be like, great, we can't do it. No way in heck. It's a bad idea, but it's a good idea, right? In terms of ideas, it's not one we can use, but it's an idea that counts in our move toward 40, okay? So, that's something to consider. Do you have that flexibility within the idea to come up with 40 to 1, 40 to 1 terms? And then keep the conflict alive, okay? We can't do aliens versus, I don't know, aliens versus the cafeteria cook. Even though that sounds very funny and like something I would love to shoot, we just don't have the time or the budget. And actually, that would be kind of funny. Aliens versus Chef Marlene. I think an alien has taken over the school lunchroom, the school kitchen. And it's a plot to poison us all. See, you guys, I love this class because you get to be silly. And I would go for something comedy. Drama is don't do drama. You can, you're more than welcome to, but comedy's much more fun, you know, and you know, it's just easier to do. So the idea is up to you guys. Keep the conflict, something that we can keep the conflict going. No violence whatsoever, nothing inappropriate. It has to be age appropriate. No violence. If there is violence, we will only show the aftermath. We will not show the actual contact, right? No gun violence, nothing like that. So those are the only parameters. And what else? It has to be something doable. We're going to shoot it on our iPhones, our cell phones. They work great. What else? So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Let's all get your stories in. And then the positions for film, right? We're going to need a director, which is the the boss, as someone puts it. Not so much the boss, but a leader. It's a big difference. The boss is someone that comes in and tells you what to do. A leader is someone that has a vision, and you are compelled to do something because you are aligned with that vision. That takes a little bit more, right? A little bit more, because as a director, you know, you need people to understand your vision creatively. Otherwise, you're going to have problems getting what you want. So in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower, meaning you got to listen to your crew, listen to your team. Is essential. And you have to rely on their expertise. Even when their expertise has shortcomings, you have to step up and be a leader and do something that a leader would do in a way that a leader, not a boss, would do it. You know, in every production, I've had to fire someone. I have not done a single production where someone has not been fired. And it has a profound impact on everyone. It's not something that I like to do, but if someone is not performing or incapable of completing the task, the job that I need to get done for the production, they got to go, you know? And then I got to bring in someone else. That's the bottom line. So, but usually what happens after that is everybody else shows up with their A game. They're like, oh snap, he's firing people. Well, yeah, it's a job. You're getting paid. If you can't do the job, you're fired. So, but you have to understand as the director or the producer when someone is not doing their job. Because a lot of times, or I should say sometimes, it is often the case, they are telling you, no, that can't be done. not because it's not within the scope of their job to do it or they don't want to do it. They're telling you because it's not going to work. In their experience, right, of doing films, what you're asking them to do is something that simply won't work. So they're trying to save your behind. You want people that are going to stand up to you like that and tell you the hard facts, especially in a producer. You know, as a director, you maybe want the luxury of 5 or 6 takes, and your producer's telling you, no, you only get 3. We only have time for 3. We only have the budget for 3. We only have the location for 3. So you get 3. That was 2. You got 1 more left. And if we keep arguing about this, you're not going to get a third one. So get your third one and let's roll. You need that kind of producer. And then on the flip side, you need a producer who's going to be like, okay, I'm going to try and go fight and try and get you a 4th take. I know we can't do 5, but I might be able to squeeze, you know, and who can distinguish when the 2 sides of that coin are beneficial. So that person takes being organized, organized and efficient and very well connected. Not in the terms of, oh, I know Denzel. No, when I say connected, I mean that person has a network of professionals within the industry that they can call on to get any task done. Okay? So they're connected. They have a name, a reputation that people respect. It's not rocket science. There's certain practices that have not changed. They've been disrupted, so to speak, by the computer, which only makes things better for scheduling, but that's about it. Basically, it's the same. You write it, that's the development process. Once it's written, you break it down. All the departments, makeup, hair, visual effects, everyone breaks down the script per their department, what they need, per the director's vision, what the director has laid out in his storyboards, right? Page by page. Then they budget it out, schedule it, right? That happens simultaneously because you can't have the budget unless you've scheduled it out, and you can't schedule it out unless you have a budget. So those things kind of happen, you know, there's a lot of back and forth on that. Once you get an executive or a studio that gives you what's called the green light, that means they've come to a bottom number on that budget, and you're good to go on a shoot date. So pre-production stops when the day you start shooting, and that's called principal photography or production. The day you start shooting, right, until the day you say that's a wrap, and you clap, everybody goes home. That's production, right? Principal photography. Once that's wrapped, you go into post-production where they're editing. Now, actually, editors are editing usually as they're shooting. They don't wait normally to stop shooting to start editing. It's more cost-effective to have that process going on simultaneously, get it done as soon as possible. But when the principal photography finishes, the primary objective is post, which is editing, adding the sound, visual effects, title cards, you know, all the other nooks and crannies that get added onto the movie that you never consider. Okay? Once that's done, distribution. You hope for a theatrical release in a theater, as many as possible. You push for some buzz, some viral news, hopefully. You get your main talent and you put them on the news circuit to do interviews and generate interest in the movie so that on the release date, the numbers are up. And that first weekend, you kind of want it to be the best ever. Why? Because that's the one that they look at. the first weekend, and then everything else is the long haul. You can go on sites like Box Office Mojo and see the history of budgets of what films have made. Very, very interesting source for information when it comes to trying to hammer down what genre. Some people do what's called writing for the market, which means something like this. Let's say in the last 2 months, 3 low budget horror films have come by, taken the industry by surprise and made millions and millions of dollars, right? They're selling out everywhere. Now they're streaming. So I'm going to hammer down and write a low budget horror film, right? That's called writing for the market, okay? There's a danger in that, because by the time you've put in the energy to write a script and get it done and completed and do it properly, the market has changed. So it's like you're trying to hit a moving target with that. It's okay to be inspired by it. I'm not saying, that at all. I am saying don't write. I'm saying do not write something for the market with the expectation of, by the time you deliver it fully ready to go, that the market has not changed. Okay, they might be on to romantic comedies now or science fiction. So that's why they say write what you know, write what you're passionate about, because ultimately it's that passion that's going to carry you through. So, because remember, every scene, roughly you have 40 of them in a script, and every scene has to bounce between that story dynamic, and every scene you have to put through that 40-to-1 process, and that takes a lot of time, a lot of thought. It's something that you must do if your expectation is to hand off a 100 to 110 page script and expect someone to drop millions of dollars on that script to get it done. If you haven't done at least that courtesy to hand them something that's representative of your best work, then why would you expect them to drop the millions of dollars to get your project made? They're just, you got to think that every year every month there are thousands of new scripts developed, generated, and they end up on the desk of these producers and executives. They don't have time to read them. They hire someone else to read them. They're called readers. And the readers read everything from the garbage to the good ones. And if your script is in the garbage pile, that's where it ends up. Lost, done, recycled. So this reader who's reading, script after script after script after script after script of garbage, comes across your script and you got typos, you got, there's cliches in there, there's scenes that look like other movies, then yeah, it's going to the garbage pile. But if you've done your work and you deliver something fresh and new, it's going to stand out. And they're going to give it to the boss because that's their job. Okay? So you got to get past that reader first. It's imperative. And your work, here's how unforgiving it is. I remember I wrote my first script, my first screenplay, and I just so happened to be good friends with the producer of a well-known TV show We were hanging out. She would come and hang out at this poetry workshop that I was part of. And, you know, my poetry was stellar. So, you know, we were talking and I was like, oh yeah, I got a screenplay. She's like, oh, okay, yeah. So I said, yeah, I'd love to have you read it. And so she was like, yeah, send it, you know. So I sent it to her. And sometime later she called back and she was like, you know, she said, first, I need to know, are you serious? Were you serious when you sent this to me? And I was like, yeah. She said, okay, so now, she said, it's so bad, I'm offended that you would even consider that I'm the type of person that would produce something like this. That's how bad it was. That's what she straight out told me. Mind you, you guys, this is before I went to graduate school, right? This is before I got my degree in screenwriting, because I did not know the craft, okay? So now I look back at that script and it's like, oh yeah, that was some hot garbage, right? So I couldn't even send her another script after that. It was so bad, okay? So it's easy to get a no. Matter of fact, you already got the no. The work comes in getting the yes, just for them to read it. And the good thing is, even if they read it and they say, well, you know what? We love this script, but it's not what we're looking for. But we love the script. We love the way it's written. We'll keep in touch. Okay, you know, 6 months goes by. They encounter this whole other script that they like, but they want to give it to another writer, right? And they remember you, like, hey, that one writer who did that script a couple weeks ago, I bet you they will be good with this, and they might give you a try. So, as my mentors say, hard work begets more hard work. So you gotta always keep working at writing and directing. So as we narrow down our story, right? We are looking at these factors, who's doable. So we need a director or directors, producers, camera person, right? Those are the most obvious ones. Then we need actors. So we need people in the class to be in it, okay? So, sorry. So, fill in what your expertise is, what you would like. Maybe you do music, that's fine. We need music, credits. Maybe you don't do either of the above. You're just that's fine too. We need, those are called PAs, production assistants. We need everybody, all hands on deck for this. And so far there aren't that many of us. We got a good number in this class. So we should be able to get at least one done. And I have several exercises as well for us to do. But the first one is we need to get going and organize for this shoot. And we need to get the writing done, because that's the part that takes the longest. And we have this, it's gonna fly by, you guys, these weeks. So we have to keep the communications going for production is essential. The faster we find out something, and the more time we have to react and plan around it. So in production, you can never over communicate. I had this one student, her name was Deja. Deja now works in the executive office, last time I heard, at NBC or CBS, one of them. But on production, Deja was amazing. She was so organized. She would send a text message, then follow it up with an email, and then the next day follow up with another email, and then she would see you and then ask you about it again, and then follow up with another text message. It was great. When Deja was on the job, you had the sense of security that she's gonna get it done, and she would. If she couldn't get it done, she's on the phone, texting you, emailing you right away, explaining why she can't. what's the possible solution if there is one. But that's the kind of organizing you want to be as a producer. And everything aligns behind the director's vision. As the director, of course, you want to have this vision of the script being actualized on the screen, shot by shot. What does it look like? Because you have to 100% put that down in your storyboards for your crew. Otherwise, they have no idea what you want. And the last thing you want to do, you don't have the luxury of getting on set and thinking about it for 10, 15 minutes, what you want the shot to be, right? When that's 10, 15 minutes you could have spent shooting. You don't have that luxury, period. It's reckless, and you're missing an opportunity to really hone your storytelling capabilities as a director. So we're going to have storyboards. That's going to be done far in advance, so that our production team knows exactly what's in the shot, the mise en scene, okay? That's it in a nutshell. So in the discussion, put the answers to your questions, put your ideas, right? And then put where you think you would want to be: a writer, producer, director, talent, audio, sound, makeup, hair, stuff like that, wardrobe, and overall what's called a PA, production assistant, where you're just the general, go get it, do it, handle it, get it done. All right, let's get it done. All right, guys.